Elderly woman whispers to Elon Musk in Chipotle. Hearing her words, he breaks down. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the polished black Tesla as it glided effortlessly through the streets of Palo Alto. Inside, Elon Musk sat in the back seat, his fingers dancing across his smartphone screen, scrolling through an endless stream of emails. The soft hum of the electric motor created a cocoon of quiet, broken only by the occasional distant sound of passing cars. Elon's eyes flitted between messages, but a faint rumble from his stomach reminded him that he hadn't eaten since early morning. Glancing at the digital clock on the dashboard, which read 10:28 a.m., he realized hunger was pulling him out of his business-focused trance. "James," Elon called out to his chauffeur, his voice breaking the silence in the car. "I'm feeling a bit hungry. Could you find us a quiet spot nearby? Somewhere not too crowded would be perfect." James, a middle-aged man with a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard, nodded. "Of course, Mr. Musk. Any particular cuisine in mind?" Elon paused, considering his options. "You know, I'm actually craving Mexican food. It's been a while since I've had anything like that." "Mexican it is, sir," James replied, scanning the road ahead. "There's Reposado on Hamilton Avenue if you'd like something upscale, or Palo Alto Sol on California Avenue for something casual." Elon shook his head slightly. "Those sound nice, but they're a bit more formal than I'm looking for right now. Anything simpler?" James thought for a moment. "There's Sancho's Taqueria for authentic street-style tacos, or Vival, which specializes in Yucatan cuisine. Oh, and there's always Chipotle on El Camino Real if you're looking for something quick and straightforward." At the mention of Chipotle, Elon paused. It had been years since he'd indulged in fast food, especially Chipotle. The idea of a no-fuss, simple meal suddenly seemed appealing, and the timing was perfect to avoid the lunch rush before his afternoon meeting. "Let's go to Chipotle," Elon decided with a nod. "It's been ages, and it'll be quick." "Perfect. Very good, sir," James replied, smoothly changing lanes. "We'll be there in about 10 minutes. As the Tesla approached the modest Chipotle on El Camino Real, Elon looked up from his phone. Through the large windows, he noticed the restaurant was relatively empty, exactly what he had hoped for. Only one table was occupied, promising a quiet, distraction-free meal. Stepping out into the crisp California air, Elon stretched briefly, enjoying the change from the climate-controlled car interior. "I shouldn't be too long, James," he said to his chauffeur. "Feel free to grab something for yourself if you'd like." "Thank you, sir. I'll be here when you're ready," James replied with a polite smile. As Elon approached the entrance, the familiar scent of grilled meat and spices wafted through the air, evoking memories of quick meals during his earlier entrepreneurial days. Pushing open the glass door, he heard the chime announcing his arrival and stepped into the cool, air-conditioned interior. The restaurant was spotless and calm, with a relaxed atmosphere. Behind the counter, the staff, who had been chatting quietly, turned their attention to him. Their faces lit up with surprise and excitement as they recognized him, though they tried to maintain their professionalism. In front of Elon stood an elderly woman in a wheelchair. Her frail frame seemed to sink into the chair, and her trembling hands rested on the armrests. She was attempting to place her order, her voice so soft it was barely audible. "I'm sorry, ma'am," said Chloe, the cashier, leaning forward and straining to hear. "Could you repeat that? What kind of meat would you like in your burrito?" The elderly woman mumbled something that sounded like chicken, but then hesitated and pointed at another part of the menu. Chloe glanced between her and Elon, trying to hide her growing frustration. "Ma'am," Chloe said again, more loudly this time, "we have chicken, steak, carnitas, or barbacoa. Which would you prefer?" The old woman's confusion was evident as she looked up at the menu board, her lips moving but no clear words coming out. Other staff members began whispering, discreetly pointing at Elon while trying to figure out how to manage the situation. One impatient worker stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said, his tone verging on disrespectful, "maybe you could step aside and let other customers through while you decide." Elon, who had been quietly observing, felt a surge of empathy for the elderly woman and disappointment at the staff's handling of the situation. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on her wheelchair. "It's all right," Elon said calmly, addressing both the woman and the staff. "There's no need to rush. Let's take our time to get it right." Crouching to meet her at eye level, his tone softened. "Hi," he said warmly. "May I help you with your order, ma'am?" The woman's face lit up with relief, and she gave a faint smile. "That would be so kind of you," she whispered. Elon leaned in closer, listening attentively as she carefully articulated her choices. He repeated her order back to her. "So, a chicken burrito, extra rice, black beans, and mild salsa on the side. Did I get that right?" Brenda, as her name tag read, nodded with a grateful smile. Turning to Chloe, Elon asked, "Did you get all that?" "Yes, sir," Chloe replied quickly, her fingers flying over the touchscreen. "One chicken burrito with extra rice, black beans, and mild salsa on the side." Here's a rephrased version of your script, keeping the same tone and flow while slightly adjusting the word order. As Chloe began ringing up the order, Elon instinctively reached for his wallet. Without hesitation, he handed over his credit card. "I'll take care of this," he said firmly, his tone leaving no room for debate. The simple act of kindness momentarily silenced the watching staff. They exchanged glances, a mix of admiration and unease written across their faces. The young man who had earlier suggested Brenda step aside looked particularly uncomfortable, his impatience replaced with embarrassment. While Chloe processed the payment, Elon turned to Brenda. "Your meal will be ready shortly," he assured her gently. "Would you like help finding a table?" Brenda nodded gratefully, and Elon carefully maneuvered her wheelchair to a quiet corner of the restaurant. As he did, he couldn't help but reflect on the moment. A small gesture of helping an elderly woman with her order had clearly left a significant impact, not just on her but also on the staff. Their expressions carried a newfound respect. Once Brenda was comfortably situated at her chosen table, Elon returned to the counter to place his own order. The staff, still visibly moved by his earlier kindness, seemed eager to assist him. "What can we get for you, Mr. Musk?" Chloe asked, her earlier nervousness replaced with a genuine desire to serve. Elon glanced over the menu quickly. "I'll have a chicken bowl," he said, listing his preferences. "White rice, black beans, corn salsa, fajita veggies, and extra guacamole and lettuce, please." Chloe nodded enthusiastically, her fingers flying over the touchscreen to input his order. "Absolutely, sir. Anything else?" "That'll be all. Thank you," Elon replied with a smile. As he waited at the pickup station, Elon noticed the staff whispering excitedly amongst themselves. After a brief debate, Chloe approached him hesitantly. "Mr. Musk," she began, her voice a little shaky, "would it be okay if we got a photo with you? We're all huge fans of your work." Elon hesitated, knowing how quickly photos in public could spread online and attract unwanted attention. But seeing the hopeful expressions on their faces, he reconsidered. "All right," he agreed, "but on one condition, please wait until I've left to post anything online. Or better yet, keep the photos private. I'd really appreciate it." The staff nodded eagerly, their excitement unmistakable. They quickly gathered around him, and Chloe snapped several photos on her phone. Throughout the impromptu session, Elon maintained a polite smile, appreciating their enthusiasm despite feeling slightly out of his element. Once the photos were taken, Elon's order was ready. Grabbing his tray, he decided to deliver Brenda's meal first before settling down to eat. As he approached her table, he noticed her expression, a mix of confusion and agitation. "Here's your meal, Brenda," Elon said gently, setting the tray in front of her. To his surprise, Brenda looked at the food with distress. "I didn't order this," she insisted, her voice rising. "Please take it away. I don't want it." Caught off guard, Elon hesitated. "Are you sure?" he asked, concerned. When Brenda nodded firmly, he picked up the tray and returned it to the counter, puzzled by the sudden change. "Is everything okay, Mr. Musk?" Chloe asked, noticing the uneaten food. Elon shook his head slightly. It seems there's been some confusion. Brenda insists she didn't order this. Chloe frowned. That's odd. Should we make her something else? No, let's leave it here for now, Elon replied. I think there's more going on here. Turning to the staff, he asked, did she come in with anyone? A caregiver or family member, perhaps? The staff exchanged uncertain glances before Alex, a young employee, spoke up. No, sir. She came in alone, in her wheelchair, just before you arrived. Elon nodded, hiding his growing concern. The situation was clearly more complicated than it had seemed. With a sigh, he picked up his own tray and chose a corner table, positioning himself to keep an eye on Brenda as he ate. Elon had barely started his meal when movement caught his eye. Brenda was wheeling herself to the counter, retrieving the very tray of food she had just refused moments ago. Curious and concerned, Elon watched as she slowly navigated back to her table, the tray precariously balanced between her wheelchair's handles. Brenda's movements were unsteady, but she managed to return to her seat without incident. Carefully setting the tray down, she began eating as though nothing had happened. Elon, though relieved, was also puzzled. The woman who had just denied ordering the food now treated it like it had been her plan all along. Trying not to stare, Elon returned to his meal and work. But his attention kept drifting back to Brenda's table. Her behavior grew stranger. She struggled to eat her burrito, sometimes attempting impossibly large bites. Other times, she laughed softly to herself or spoke to an unseen companion. The staff exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to intervene. Elon's unease deepened. Suddenly, a choking sound shattered the restaurant's quiet. Elon looked up to see Brenda clutching her throat, struggling for air. Without hesitation, he abandoned his meal and rushed to her side. Breathe, Brenda, Elon urged, his voice calm despite the urgency. Recalling his first aid training, he administered firm pats to her back, hoping to dislodge the obstruction. Bring napkins, quickly, he called to the nearest staff member as Brenda's coughs grew more productive. Moments later, she managed to expel the food causing the blockage. Gasping for air, Brenda's breathing steadied. Tears filled her eyes as she looked down at her tray, now a mess of half-eaten food. Overwhelmed, she burst into tears, the room falling silent around her.